a podcast filled with conversation and curiosity sparked by Utica Community Schools. This is UCS Podcademy.
Hello and welcome to UCS Podcademy. My name is Pernell Sterling, a junior at Eisenhower High School. Today, we will be highlighting the collaboration between the Special Services Department at Utica Community Schools and Celebrate Hope. The Special Services Department at UCS takes care of the evaluation, programming, services, and specialized learning needs of children with disabilities. Special Services strives to focus on their students' strengths to help them achieve their highest potential. They also provide information to families and the community concerning the special education process, which brings me to why we're here today. It is my pleasure to introduce today's guest, co-founder of Celebrate Hope, John Ball. Thank you for being here.
It's great to be here, Pernell. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy 16th birthday.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you and happy for you. So I'm glad you're on the planet.
Yes, thank you. Tell me a little bit more about your partner, Mrs. Lisa Goyette.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit more about Celebrate Hope too and how it came to be.
Yes.
Yeah. So Lisa Goyette is my business partner, and we started Celebrate Hope about 8 years ago. Both Lisa and myself and our families have children with unique needs, unique abilities. And we found out through the experience of having children with unique abilities that there was challenges that came along the way. And oftentimes what would happen is that we recognize the fact that there were plenty of resources, especially through school districts like Utica. There was resources available to our children, but very few resources that were available to families that were raising those children. And so as a means of providing support to those families, we created Celebrate Hope.
Okay, I find that so remarkable, especially there's so much hands-on attention with the children at school, like you said, and that often people find themselves forgetting about the parents who have to spend, majority of the time with them, especially
Exactly.
during breaks and things like that. So I find that support towards the parents very, very essential, to the family household. So I just think that is absolutely phenomenal. So can you introduce to me and our audience how it came to be?
Yep. So as I mentioned, Pernell, I have a child whose name is Braden. He's 20 years old. I also have a 22-year-old. Maybe you can't tell it by looking at me, but he's a barber. Braden is autistically impaired.
Mm-hmm.
And my business partner, Lisa, has a child who also has unique ability and challenges. And as I had mentioned before, what we really discovered is that there was a whole host of support systems that were available to our children. And again, much like as we're sitting here on the campus of Utica Schools, one of which is providing ongoing support to families and children, what we did find is that so much of what isn't happening in our society is support systems for those families. And so that's where Celebrate Hope came into be, to be able to really create a tribe and a system of support, a community of people that were able to really empower families and help them along in the unique challenges that they face.
Okay. I love how you said, to empower and to ultimately build a community, of families like that, because in our day and in society, people grasp towards belonging to somewhere like a tribe or a family or a community. And what you're doing in that situation, you're building up people and you're making them feel like, hey, we're not in this alone. We're not in this, we actually have, a family to go to. We have a support system, a help to guide us and to uplift us, during tough times. So I'm just elated, to hear about that and to hear about what you and your also co-founder are doing. So my third question for you are, what are some of the most common challenges you found as being parents of children with unique needs?
Pernell, and you nailed it. I think as we talk about the language of tribe and community, it really depends upon the diagnosis of each child, and every single family and every single child is vastly different. There are some level of commonalities, but I would tell you in response to that conversation that we just had about community, so oftentimes what's lacking is that sense of belonging, that feeling of being alone and isolated and having no support. That's the place that, in our opinion, with the work that we've done over the years, that we see is needed so desperately for parents and families.
So when you are building these, support systems and you're helping families out, what are the center goals that you have in mind outside of building a community and building a family?
The first thing I would say, there's a number of different goals and initiatives that we have. And as we partner with Utica Schools, and I'll say this first and foremost, is we're just grateful that they had the vision to be able to acknowledge the fact that their families need support.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this is sometimes we get into the modality and the mentality that the disability defines who we are as individuals. And thankfully, thanks to your generation, we're finding that the language is shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that shift is really moving towards a place of acknowledging the unique abilities, the gift, the value that those individuals bring. And so first and foremost, helping parents and families to recognize that even though there are unique challenges that come, there's also some amazing gifts that happen in the midst of that. Took me a long time to figure that out. Thankfully to Braden, he's been one of my most profound teachers, as well as our young people today. The second thing that we often really focus in on, Pernell, is building foundations of healthy communication across all lines. Healthy communication between parent and child, between parent and parent, between parent and their community, parent and educators. Communication is more than the exchange of just information.
Yes.
But it's really getting to the heart and the soul of another human being and getting onto the same page. The other thing that we do is helping families to become more socially and emotionally intelligent, knowing who I am as an individual, how to manage my own behaviors, my own ideologies, my beliefs, and my attitudes. Knowing who other people are around me and being able to manage those relationships effectively. And I would say the fourth thing is really being intentional about creating healthy relationships with educators, recognizing the fact that we're all on the same team.
Exactly.
And ultimately in it for the child winning.
I love that, putting the child first is everything, and like to your point about communication, communication is key for any relationship, whether that be between you and your spouse, between you and a friend, you and a coworker. Communication is so vital, and I love that. I love that. I understand Celebrate Hope also offers support to educators. What kind of approach do you bring into your work with school districts?
Excellent. The term that we often use, much like we've already used the word tribe and community, in a very similar way in the relationship that communities, families, and educators have, is that it's a family system, just a little bit larger. And if, in fact, we're going to have a healthy family system,
yes,
it means that everybody needs to have some level of support. And as we've seen in the last 2, 3, 4 years and beyond, being in education can be challenging at times. And so these are times when we need to rally for educators and to be able to provide them with support. And so the services that we provide to educators generally come in the form of seminars and professional training events, many of which are well established in principles of social emotional intelligence, but similar, as we talked about, some of the skills that we're trying to cultivate in the lives of families, we're doing also those same skills in the life of educators. Healthy communication, how to demonstrate healthy empathy, and creating a sense of awareness of the other and being able to attend to their needs effectively.
Can you explain just a little bit more about those seminars and, what they entail?
Yeah, so there's a large array of offerings that we bring to school districts, such things as building healthy boundaries as an educator. We're going to be actually doing a series of seminars this week yet for another school district on self-care and managing stress.
Yes.
Healthy communication, how to communicate effectively between colleagues and peers, between educators and students and families and administration. We dig into the depths of social emotional intelligence, how to be a socially and emotionally intelligent educator. You probably are familiar with ESL.
Yes.
Emotional social learning.
Mm-hmm.
In the same regard, we're leveraging those kind of skills with educators. Conflict resolution. So just the basic things that we need in life to be successful.
That's important. I feel like sometimes we need a reminder on that too, especially, on the emotional side, because I often see teachers and often myself, struggle, emotionally, we need that boost. We need that, that extra power or, kick in the trousers for lack of better words, to get us to that next level, and to encourage and to empower us. I just think that's lovely.
Thanks for your sensitivity to educators as well. That just makes my heart happy.
So. They're very vital.
They are.
Can you give us a preview of the engagements you'll be hosting at UCS this year?
Yep. So this is a pilot program. We're starting out on a very solid foot with Utica Schools. There's going to be a series of 4 engagement seminars. And I don't want to use that word exclusively, Pernell, because they're more than just a seminar. It's not just a lecture, but it's going to provide opportunities for engagement. As we go back to that tribe and community, for parents to be able to connect with each other and have conversation and share some of the challenges that they're experiencing, as well as find ways to be empowered. And so there's 4 different engagements that are going to be happening over the course of next year. Number 1, we're going to start off with building our support system, looking at that. Secondly, having a healthy perspective concerning ourselves. That's where that social emotional intelligence piece comes in. Yes. Having a healthy perspective of ourselves and our child. Having a sense of flexibility, as we know. And I think you probably are figuring this out even at 16, as life doesn't always go the way that we want it to.
Yes.
And so being willing, having the capacity to flow and move and be flexible. And then lastly is acceptance. So accepting life for what it is. And I want to be careful when I say this, is acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean that we resign ourselves to the fact that this is the way things are going to be. That's been one of the most amazing gifts that Braden has brought into my life, is learning to accept him for who he really is and celebrate his life.
That's
so those are the 4 things. So acceptance, flexibility, building our support system, and having a healthy perspective.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to be focusing on in this next year.
So with that, I want to ask you another question. What can we do, all of us, to prepare as we launch into this incredible opportunity, particularly with marketing these events?
Excellent. So what we know, Pernell, is that digital marketing is very valuable, and it provides a great foundation for events that happen, but that's not the end all and be all. And so the best thing that we can do is resort back to the most valuable part of this entire engagement, as well as the educational experience. And it's really founded in relationships. So educators reaching out to their families and providing a personal invitation, as they're mindful of some families that may be experiencing some unique challenges. Community members that may or may not necessarily be connected to a child with unique abilities, and thinking about somebody that could effectively use this opportunity for their own personal benefit. So just thinking about those personal engagements, those relationships, the people in our lives, really pulling into the value of community and what it means to be a part of the tribe. And sometimes we just take care of each other by providing information and personal invites. So that's one of the things, one of many things that can be done during the course of this year.
I find that very important, getting into someone's world, especially being in a community, tribe, family group. You have to, in order for you to get someone's, problems, and in order for you to solve those solutions, you have to get in someone's world. Most people often like to, project their opinions from afar, instead of actually seeing what that person's going through on a daily life. Getting into someone's world, provides comfort, provides a feeling of, wow, people actually, believe in me. People actually, love me, and people actually want to help me. That is just so important, to get into someone's world and to actually engage with them.
I think you've just defined empathy.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this a lot in the work that we do. There's a vast difference between empathy and sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
Sympathy is, oh, I feel bad for somebody.
Exactly.
But empathy is, I feel bad for somebody enough that I'm willing to do something about that. And so as we talk about that and close out our time, Pernell, is we have seen as a result of educators and communities and tribes and the partnerships that we've had with educational systems and school districts over the year, we've seen perspectives change. We've seen parents be able to be empowered and recognize the fact that their life isn't ending because they have a child that they didn't necessarily signed up for, but it's only the beginning of something even more beautiful. And I got to tell you, for both Lisa and I, co-founders of Celebrate Hope, we're living testimonies to the fact of people investing their lives in us. I'm the dad of two amazing young men, but especially my guy who has unique abilities. I'm the dad I am today because people have continued to challenge me and help me grow as an individual and as a person.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. That's great. Anything else you would like to share with our audience?
No, this is just lastly, this is a resource that's being provided by Utica Schools. Mm-hmm. And it's for the taking. And so we just encourage the community to rally around this. And we're thankful once again for all the educators and the administration for making this come to a reality. And lastly, just again, happy birthday to you, Pernell.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. I feel like that's important. Just lastly, speaking out that you're engaging with UCS, because rapidly I've seen growth, especially with the UCS community and them adding in support and adding in new levels of it. So, I appreciate that because, with that, it's only going to improve the UCS district and the UCS body and the UCS community even further down the road. So that's great with what you are doing. Celebrate Hope is just absolutely phenomenal. And I really admire your work. I admire your support levels. I admire everything that you are giving back to the community because the community has given to you. And now you've sown into that and you put that in the ground. Now you're giving back. And that's all what life is about.
It's true.
I want to thank you, audience, for tuning in. I'm your host, Pernell Sterling with UCS Podcademy.
UCS Podcademy is a resource created by Utica Community Schools, Michigan's second largest school district located in Macomb County. Thank you for listening. UCS Podcademy is always available at uticak12.org/Podcademy. Through this website, you'll be able to listen to additional episodes and access any resources and show notes featured in this episode. If you have episode recommendations, we invite you to send them via email to ucs@uticak12.org.